Hello and welcome to today's program, Tuesday, the 30th of September, 2025. It's another packed show, lunchtime here in the UK, early in the morning over on the East Coast, and the middle of the afternoon in the Eastern Mediterranean, where I will be going in a moment. I'm delighted to say I'll be joined by Tadhg Hickey, who is aboard the Global Subud Flotilla, soon to be in the so-called danger zone, where an act of piracy by the Israeli regime is highly likely. The chances are they will be boarded, raided, possibly the boat even sunk. So Tadhg will be joining me in just a moment. Then later in the program, well, a bizarre situation in Liverpool at the Labour Party conference, where conference passed a motion declaring that Israel is committing genocide, and yet the Labour Party in government is continuing to arm that genocide and indeed play host to its orchestrators and perpetrators. This has legal ramifications, surely, for those in power, and is, if nothing else, a deep embarrassment. Some fascinating footage as well coming up of protesters outside the conference in Liverpool being arrested for holding placards that say "I oppose genocide," but not being arrested for declaring their support for the genocide. Truly bizarro stuff. Of course, yesterday we also had the appalling Trump-Netanyahu peace deal, colonialism 2.0, Tony Blair, my God, he should be in jail. These people should all be in jail, Netanyahu and Trump included. Instead, they didn't think they can dictate to the people of Palestine exactly what is going to happen to the besieged and now largely destroyed enclave. Plus, in the second half of the program, I'll be joined by former MI5 agent David Shayler for a deep dive into the Charlie Kirk assassination. The FBI narrative has completely disintegrated. It's very obvious that Tyler Robinson did not send those text messages, nor did he fire the fatal shot. Had he fired the fatal shot, Charlie's head would have been largely separated from his body. Kirk was, in fact, shot at close range. All sorts of shenanigans behind the headlines. And will Robinson even make it to trial? He's on suicide watch with the same people who looked after Jeffrey Epstein. But more of that in the second half of the program. For now, I want to bring onto the stage Tadhg Hickey, who is in the Eastern Mediterranean. Welcome to the program, Tadhg. I hope you're doing well. Before we begin our conversation, I just want to play a couple of short clips from events in Gaza over the last 24 hours, which you may have missed, but they further illustrate where it needed the moral cesspit. In fact, the total inversion of reality we are being forced to accept, with Israel and the United States dictating terms to Palestinians. This first clip is rather harrowing. It shows a doctor being shot in the head by a quadcopter through the window of a Gaza hospital. Dr. Marwan there, I don't know if he was fatally injured. Here is one of the starving children. I know you're on your way to help. Of course, baby formula, along with vitamin-enhanced peanut butter, one of the things that the Israelis do not allow into Gaza. Finally, a young boy named Yusuf, one of thousands of orphans wandering, starving amongst the rubble of Gaza. A dangerous terrorist there scheduled for elimination by Israel. I mean, Tadhg, I don't know if, before we come on to your situation in the Eastern Med there, I don't know if you've seen the so-called Trump-Netanyahu 21-point peace plan, but with Tony Blair involved, assorted bankers, real estate agents, and Middle Eastern potentates, with representation from the people of Palestine a long way down the list of priorities. It is absolutely abysmal.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest and say I haven't seen the fine print. I haven't seen the details yet. But as you say, when I read that Tony Blair was involved, it just seems like it's something out of a pure and utter dystopian series, that somebody who should be behind bars, somebody who's just completely and utterly clearly guilty of the most horrendous period in human history in modern times until this genocide, is now entering the stage at this point in the extermination to try and swoop up what he can. It's really quite unconscionable. But from what I can gather, the deal doesn't really involve Palestinians at all, and that's the problem now, and it's historically been the problem that the deal is being done between who? The deal is being done between Zionists and their corporate backers, and that's it. And we're talking about a demilitarized Palestine. As somebody said today online, surely the country committing mass murder and extermination that every human rights group across the board, even the UN, even Bernie Sanders is calling it a genocide now, surely that state should be demilitarized. It would be like in apartheid South Africa, focusing in on the demilitarization of the ANC whilst allowing apartheid South Africa to continue. And let's not forget, that's exactly what the US and the UK wanted to happen at the time. They held on to apartheid South Africa until the bitter end. So, look, I think there's a global movement for the Palestinian cause for justice and liberation, and I think they will treat this 12-point plan or whatever it is with the level of respect it deserves, which is zero. It's a nonsense. It's the last corporatist kind of death rattle from an empire on its last legs. And I feel like the movement of people who want to see justice and liberation for Palestine will not be assuaged by it in any way. And the mission that we're on right now is just, it's as our captain said yesterday to us, and I think it's so true, this mission is only beginning. Whatever happens to us later on this evening or tomorrow is kind of largely irrelevant to the bigger picture. I think the dam has burst, and rightly so. I feel like the Zionist ideology, the whole Zionist thinking is it's on its last legs, inshallah.
Absolutely. I hope and believe you're right. I mean, you make the central point here, really. How can a state which is almost universally now perceived to be committing genocide, I think if you're continuing to deny it, you really belong in a camp with flat earthers. Although I think that theory actually has more credibility. I find it extraordinary that people seem to think they need the Amnesty International, the United Nations, when they have the evidence of their own eyes. This is the other thing. It's almost like, oh, we need these august bodies to tell us a genocide. It's genocide, even though we can see it ourselves. You know, we don't trust ourselves to say it's genocide. We need these other people to say so. Okay, well, okay, we'll do that. So we've got them on board as well. Now what? How can you have a situation where, as you rightly point out, the perpetrators of the genocide are rewarded with total control over the lives of the people they've been mass murdering? I've no doubt they will continue murdering Palestinians. I don't think there's been a day in the last 2 years, even during the ceasefire, when Palestinians haven't been murdered by Israel. I've no doubt that will continue after the ceasefire. And last point, of course, compulsive liar and homicidal psychopath Milikovsky, aka Netanyahu, has said that he has no intention of abiding by the terms of the so-called peace plan because they require Israel to withdraw. He's told Israeli media in Hebrew that it's all just a front anyway. I mean,
like, I think these things will only happen if we allow them to happen. So I hope most people now are very clear on the fact that most of our world leaders are psychopaths. They don't care for human life at all. They just care for wealth extraction, and they care for businesses. So it has always been up to the people. And I think I really believe, maybe I'm an idealist, but I believe that enough people have woken up right now to how the world really works, and particularly how dispensable people in the global south are. And I think we have a choice now. We can go back to sleep, or we can stay awake and we can try and agitate for change. So the proposal that you're speaking about, to me it's dystopian, to you it's dystopian. It seems absurd, it seems insane, it seems all those words, but it will be adopted and it will be foisted upon.
I think it's evil, Tadhg. That's the thing.
Evil, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think we need to use stronger language across the board, frankly, when describing global leaders. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
Yeah, no, not at all. And that's the point I'm making, that how long more are we going to allow these absurd, evil, insane dictates to be foisted upon, in this case, Palestinians, in the next case, the working class, other peoples of the global south? It will keep happening as long as the people remain docile. And I mean, if we're not going to stand up and have a global revolution at this point, I don't know when it will happen. I mean, fair play to the people of Genoa and Italy. Italy still has a vibrant trade union scene. Like, I wish Ireland had that level of organisation at hand, but doesn't. So I wish that the Irish people would move from solidarity with substance into hitting the streets and making ourselves ungovernable and bringing our economy to a halt. Because if a government has spent 2 years speaking out of both sides of its mouth, on the one hand wrapping the knuckles of a nation committing genocide, and on the other side allowing the roaring trade with said nation to go on, allowing our national airport Shannon to be used for American warplanes to transport more weapons to continue the extermination, like, that government has to be brought down, in my opinion. And a quick point on the terrorism issue. I mean, you articulated it perfectly. Like, look how absurd of a world we live in right now, that the people bringing humanitarian aid to a besieged population have to answer questions. Usually, if we go on any kind of mainstream media, they ask us about association with terrorism. So they ask the people carrying baby formula to a besieged population about terrorism, and yet the country, the Soaks, and the most moral democracy and the most moral army in the world. Like, we're beyond farce. As a satirist, I've run out of things to satirize. Like, it seems like geopolitics, the state of geopolitics in the world right now is satirizing itself.
Yeah, you make a very good point, except it isn't really very funny. That's the only thing, Tadhg.
Exactly, yeah.
Tell us very quickly where you are and you know, what the latest is from the flotilla and what perhaps you expect to happen over the next 24 hours.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I mean, very shortly I'm going to be throwing my phone in the sea if such a thing as an interception happens. Again, I'm blue in the face from saying this, but the world just needs to be reminded that if an interception takes place, if there's further drone attacks on us, if we're kidnapped at sea, that would be an act of piracy. Everything I've just listed are war crimes according to international law, international humanitarian law. We're a non-violent mission. Unless the seas were promised to Israel 3,000 years ago. As far as I know, they don't own the seas. We're in international waters. And if the UK and Australia are serious about recognising Palestine, then we'll be leaving international waters to enter Palestinian waters. We're going to Gaza. We've no business in so-called Israel. But if we are intercepted, there's been threats from the former head of the Israeli Navy that there will be potentially loss of life, loss of property. So I don't know what to expect, to be honest with you, Basil, but what I will still hope for is that some people will care about international law. In a few hours' time, I'm likely to be uncontactable along with the rest of the Global Smooth Flotilla.
Wow.
We will very likely be intercepted. We will very likely be kidnapped. And then I just ask my government and I ask the governments around the world, where is your soul? Where is your humanity? We know very clearly that you don't give a damn about Palestinian lives, but are you basically saying now that you wash your hands of their allies as well, even if they're white? I thought I would enjoy some sort of white privilege in this scenario, but clearly not. There's a lot of white people on my boat, and their governments have universally just told them, good luck, you're entering a war zone, best of luck to you. Like, that's the world we live in, and it's a world that I intend to try and do my little part to change, because I don't want to be in a world that has that lack of humanity and soul in it anymore, you know?
Well, dare I say it, you lose all your white privilege when you take an anti-Zionist stance, Tadhg. Simple as that. But you
Correct.
make a very good point as well about entering Palestinian waters. Vast majority of the world's countries now recognize Palestine as a state, including, as you say, most recently, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, France, Belgium. And therefore, you are sailing into Palestinian waters. Now, although the geographical
Correct.
boundaries of Palestine are yet to be defined, the geographical boundaries of Israel are yet to be defined as well.
Exactly.
But if Palestine is anywhere, it's the Gaza Strip, and therefore the Israelis have quite simply no business intercepting you.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I still find it astonishing that we were attacked in Tunisia, we were attacked off the coast of Greece. I mean, where are Israel's borders? Like, do they own the whole ocean that they can get away with that level of impunity? I just find it extraordinary, and without being as we would say a Shanachie in Ireland, like telling tall tales and predicting the future. There's likely going to be an interception. There's likely going to be a kidnapping, and some of us are going to languish in Israeli prisons for I don't know how long. And our crime is that we're carrying medical supplies, nappies, and baby formula to a besieged population, which actually upholds international law. So these people on this boat, on this flotilla, who their governments have turned their back on, we're upholding international law. Our countries, our governments aren't. Our countries and our government are making us complicit in what, as you said earlier, everyone is now admitting is a genocide. So the people upholding international law are the ones who are criminalized, and the world at this point is going to allow that to happen again. I find it just extraordinary. But I do believe that if there's enough flotilla and there's a flotilla behind us, this kind of endless conveyor belt of humanity and aid and hope for Gaza, that the day will come very soon where the perpetrators of all this violence and hatred, the apartheid state of Israel, will be held accountable. I do believe that, and I do believe it'll happen sooner rather than later as well, because they're running out of road with their bullshit.
They certainly are, but they're very good at stealing things. They've stolen a whole country. They're like stealing water, land, and resources. And I kind of thinking they're going to steal your boat as well as any other boats.
Yeah. I mean, I'm personally going through my items in my bag at the moment, like, journals and whatnot, because the likelihood of being able to keep them afterwards is remote, because, as you say, it's a culture and an ideology kind of built on theft, underpinned by a kind of a thieving mentality. So that's what we're up against. I feel as well, without being too cheesy, they've kind of thieved our sense of our own humanity as well, at least in terms of our leaders. Like, I've never been more ashamed to be European in my life. I thought when the push came to shove that Europe would kind of do the right thing when the evidence was so clear and damning of the horrors that are going on with European diplomatic backing and financial military support. But yeah, I think that's it. It's not just about Palestine. I think it's actually a battle for our own humanity that we're in. Like, so I feel very proud and privileged to be playing a tiny, tiny little role in that shift in global opinion, I think.
Well, I and thousands, millions of people around the world, we take our hats off to you. So it sounds like this might be the last time we get a communication with you, or for that matter, my good friend Dr. Frank Romano, on one of the other boats who I haven't been able to reach today. This time tomorrow, you may be either on a prison ship or designated a terrorist, of course, which is what the Israelis have been making noises about describing you all as. That, in their twisted minds, mean they can eliminate you without any due process.
That's correct. Yeah, the information we have is that we'll be entering the red zone pretty soon, so all bets are off at that point. And yeah, I've had some personal threats against me as well, so I'm not sure. It's very hard to tell, like a government minister from a bot in Israel, because they speak almost exactly the same. But I've had some threats against me in terms of being part of that terrorist list as well. So my conscience is pretty clear, Basil, and I know why I'm here. I know why I'm here. I know why I'm doing it, and I still believe in getting to Gaza. So I think we're probably about 150 nautical miles outside Gaza, and that's still my whole focus, to keep a promise that we made to our many Palestinian friends there.
Well, as I say, we wish you all Godspeed, every possible safety and security. I do hope you make it there. I fear you won't. I hope we can speak again, and that you make it through this. Best of all, we actually managed to open the humanitarian corridor. I can't help thinking that the sort of feverish moves in Washington in diplomatic circles to bring an end to the conflict are related to your mission, because if nothing else, this is going to prove a huge embarrassment to European governments. I mean, I think there's a number of Italian parliamentarians on board, a couple of Italian Navy ships, but it wouldn't surprise me if they melt away by the time you get to the red zone. Last word to you, Tadhg.
Thank you so much. Well, just thank you so much for having us. And I just really appreciate us being amplified, because it's, believe it or not, it's hard to get media attention on this mission. I mean, it's coming now, to be honest. It's coming late in the day. I think personally, a lot of the interest in my own country is about the fact that I might be killed, and they probably just want to get in on that story. But look, whatever engages people.
Yeah.
Talk soon.
Well, we hope.
Thank you so much.
We hope not, obviously, and good luck to you and all who sail in you, Tadhg.
Thank you, guys. Free Palestine.
Free Palestine. I hope we can speak again very soon. There he goes. That's Tadhg Hickey. Wow, I'm moved. That's all I can say. I hope you are too. Absolutely extraordinary situation. What more do you need to say? I don't think there's ever been in my lifetime a scenario with such moral clarity. I mean, as Tadhg said there, international law is on his side. The flotilla should really be accompanied by thousands of tons of international aid aboard warships. It's as simple as that. That was the ruling from the World Court nearly 2 years ago now. Absolutely extraordinary stuff. Well, it's a packed program